Aloha everyone, I am Zach Taylor and I will be working with Dominic Ho, and we will be working on the Journal of Accountancy article titled Block That Spreadsheet Error. And the key Excel 2007 functions that we'll be using are the blunder blocker using data validation function, raising the flag using data validation function, validation with formulas using data validation function, and cleanup using data validation function. To begin, we're just going to start with a typical spreadsheet. We're going to show you what the usefulness of these Excel functions are in this video. For example, you have a typical spreadsheet right here that shows your order dates and shipping dates, and there's a formula that calculates the days on order in here. But as you notice, if there's even such a subtle error like a missing comma, then it'll come up with this error report, this value error report, and it'll affect the entire spreadsheet. So by using the blunder blockers and other functions that we'll be demonstrating, we'll be able to eliminate the possibility of having these errors. And although this is only one spreadsheet, so the error isn't that big of a deal, when you're linking spreadsheets and there are various pages, it is hard to track where the error occurred, and it's hard to fix it due to the complexity of the spreadsheets. Alright, in order to prevent the errors that we saw in that last spreadsheet, we're going to use the blunder blocker, and that utilizes the function called data validation. And so in order to use the data validation, you come up here to the data ribbon. Under the data ribbon, you come over to this icon. If it were expanded more, you could see that it says data validation, and you come over and you click on the column that you want to run the data validation function. You click on it and you list, we've selected this column as the date, so you come over here to you put allow your date, and then right here, move this over, and then right here you can type your start dates and your end dates that you want to be validated. So we type in 1/1/02. We can type in right here. Okay, then we can click OK. And in order to show you that this worked, and that right here we cannot enter incorrect data, we can try typing in June 31st. As you know, there's only 30 days in June, but we'll see what comes up. And as you can tell, this restricts you from entering that value, so there will not be incorrect data in the spreadsheet. And in case you want to customize the message that comes up, that error message, you go up to, under the data ribbon, you go over to the data validation option again, and you click on error alert. And then you can customize and make your own message that will show up. For example, invalid date. And for the error message, we can type something like, make sure that type a valid date for the current year. Pay attention to the months that have 30 or 31 days. Okay. Now with that, we have a customized message that will come up when someone enters incorrect data into this cell. Okay, the next step is that we want to make sure that everyone uses the same expense categories with the same codes. And so you highlight this column, you come back up to data validation, go to settings, and we go to list. And we want to make sure that both of these are checked. And in the source right here, we can type in our category codes. For example, ENTR stand for client entertainment, HOTL can stand for lodging, meal stands for employee meals, and TRVL for travel expenses. And after you've typed these in, if you want to enter another error alert, just like we did on the last one, you can do so under here. But with this, we're going to click OK, and we're going to show you that this works. There's a drop-down box, and you can select each one of these categories, which will ensure that there will not be incorrect data that is entered into the spreadsheet. Okay, and just in case that you wanted more categories than those just listed under this drop-down box, you can type in the categories that you desire. For example, I typed in these categories over here, but you'll notice that I name these categories because you're going to want to make this a named range. And so we come back over to here. Okay, and after we have highlighted the column B, we come up to data validation, and you come down to this box right here, and we'll delete this, and then we will give our new selected range right here. And then after we click OK, you'll now see that there will be an added category to the drop-down box under this column.
And so we have another couple more functions that we could use for data validation, and this one is titled Raising the Flag. After we have inputted the information as shown here, then we will want to do something for the amount part, where if the amount exceeded $500, we would want to notify the user that it requires the Vice President's approval. And to do that, we will go to data validation once more. Under error alert, we want it to be information, to have the icon appear. And so we will title it as large expense. And the error message, we want it to be expenses over $500 must be approved by a Vice President. Then we will click OK. So like how we did before, we also need to change our settings, and the settings, we will click decimal.
Guess what I have?
Less than or equal to, and the maximum amount we will type 500 and click OK. And so we can test it. For example, if it's 900, we can see that this sign will pop up, and so just to remind the user that we need to notify the Vice President. And for the comment section, we would also want to add another thing to it. We will go back to data validation. Under that, we will go to settings and text line less than, we will type in 255 because Excel has this situation where it can only handle a maximum of 255 characters, and so we would do that. So we would limit the character amount. And so we'll proceed to the next part, is validation with formulas. So in this case, what if we would like to change a changing condition? And here we enter some information, and so we want to indicate that our shipping charges is always more than 50%, it will appear as true, and if it's less than 15%, it will appear as false under the E column. And to do that, we'll go to data validation, and so under the settings, we would click over here to allow to choose custom, and the formula we would enter as equals E1 is always greater than D1 multiplied by 15%. And if it the error alert part, we will have the stop style, and then the title is valid formula, and it says that shipping should be never less than 15% of a product price. After that, we will click OK. And so to test it, let's say it's 1. And so it will show that the shipping should never be less than 50% of the product's price. And so this shows that it works. And now we'll go back to sheet 1, and in this situation for cleanup, we will want to insert information from A1 to D11. And so we wouldn't want any validation rules to pop up when we are entering this information, and so to get rid of that, we will first highlight rows 1 through 11 from A1 to D11, and we'll go under data validation, and so you can see there is this error that says the selection contains more than one type validation. Erase current settings and continue. We will click OK. And so over here, before we click clear all to prevent that all the validation rules that appear in these cells to stop popping up, we need to make sure that in our settings that apply these changes to other cells with the same settings, it's not checked at all. And so right after that, we will click clear all and click OK. And so we will type this information as shown here, and there's no pop-up that occurs during that time. And so then we can also add a company logo, and we would just copy and paste it into the Excel. And so here we paste the company logo, I get it, and that's how it's done for the cleaning up part. And so in conclusion, these are the several methods that we could use data validation function, especially for companies, to do certain functions and to notify certain things and to have error pop-ups and so on. And thank you.